This my anthem. This my anthem. This DMZ. I love my country. I love my guns. I stack my money. I'm American. About it and I got everyone tripping. I'm that patriotic veteran with a slightly darker pigment. I seen bullets, I seen rockets, a few inches while I'm living. A few inches while you sitting, so I'm pouring out the liquor. Hopping face to face with cases, bangers, AKs, and real killers. And I'm all about my mission, and my mission is to kill it. Pulling pins and pulling triggers, so you go. I love my country.
Before we start, I'm gonna do this video first. Keep us on here when I show the video, if you can.
I'm still the liquor. Guess what? I'm on top of the liquor. I am the monkey in charge of bananas. What's my secret? This little device right here. I just take a little blow, and it tells me when it's time for a little top-up. Because when I first got this, I used to ride it around 0.20, which is fucking wasted. 24/7.
Language, sir.
Language, sir.
I leave it at 0.12. Which is perfect. It's right in the fucking slot. Just past the click. That wonderful moment. Just like Julian. I'm sober enough to know what I'm doing, and I'm drunk enough to really enjoy doing it.
Said every veteran ever.
Look at that. 0.10. Time for a little drinky poo. Cheers, genitals.
Gentle.
Beautiful. My friend actually sent that to me today, and I laughed my arse.
By the way, I want to put it out there because I know Kevin will. He's being a medical professional. Please drink responsibly.
It is. See, it's poking fun. That's what we do. We poke fun at the dark points of our lives. So
I cannot tell you
at those who drink a little too much.
Cannot tell you how many times I've either talked to. Actually, there was one time I talked to a vodka bottle after my last deployment.
Good Lord.
And my friend hid the bottle in a closet. So she took it from me, hid it in the closet room, and I'm like hugging this thing. I'm talking to it. I'm petting it.
It's how we train active duty personnel to take care of their mental health. Drink, and it's ridiculous.
So come to find out, I went searching through the house, and apparently the dog barked at me and told me where it was because the dog was barking in one room, and I went and found it in the closet. So
I don't know if you ever made this mistake when we were flying. Again, I don't know what the statute of limitations is on this, so theoretically, alcohol used to be flown in from different parts of the world. If you're drinking alcohol,
not from Kevin,
not for me, in the middle of the desert, when it's 120 degrees, there's no worse hangover than a desert hangover. I've
been there, done that.
Brutally horrendous.
Let's go through a nice little sandstorm, that bit of powdery dust you step through, and you're like, not a big deal. As you inhale and drink at the same time, worst ever.
The older I get, and I love whiskey. I mean, but I do, and I like whiskey the same way I like coffee. Right, it gets me through the work.
In your belly.
It's like it's for if you're not a coffee drinker, I get it. If you're not a whiskey drinker, I get it. But if you are, you get the nuances, and it tastes good. And the older I get, the more
you add whiskey to your coffee.
This is gonna sound really strange. Hangovers impede my drinking. Does that make sense?
Yeah, because if you're hungover, you can't continue to drink unless you do hair of the dog.
No. What I'm getting at is I hate hangovers so much, that I can't, like he was doing there, and that's what made me think about it with his video. I don't want to go past that 0.10 or whatever it was. I can't. And
I have never known anybody to go, I want a hangover tomorrow.
Yeah, but you're not 40 yet.
I'm getting there.
I'm having a single glass of Metallica's whiskey. They're not
and he's already hungover.
Well, yeah, exactly. Like my brain will say, "Oh, okay, you're gonna feel like shit tomorrow," and it's like no matter what I do, I'm gonna wake up with that achy feeling, and it's horrible. My neighbor 2 weeks ago, he started. It was a Saturday night. And I'm hanging out with them, all the parents sitting around and enjoying a nice little drink. And he keeps sneaking up behind me and topping off my whiskey glass.
Oh.
And I rode my one wheel to this little gathering. So it comes to be like 11:30 at night, and I'm like, I gotta go home now. Mind you, there's a new puppy in my house. 5 a.m. I have that 5 a.m. I feel like I'm going to PT.
Cuddling the dog and petting the dog.
It was horrible. Horrible. Anyways, welcome to the 21 Gun Podcast. I'm your host, Kevin Sullivan. This is the official podcast of the Reverend Warriors, America's favorite scantily clad killers. 21 Gun was voted #1 in the demographic of stay-at-home moms. This is recently. It just came out. I'm not sure what that's all about.
That's my fault.
Could be our advice that we give all the time on raising toddlers. I'm not exactly sure.
I think that's my fault. You know, you get the single dad bods type stuff, and then you get the epic mustache of Kevin, and it just makes sense.
Do you know what? During my alcohol rant there, something dawned on me, and it was, so this is hops water. I'm lagging for some reason, whatever. So hops water is just basically water that's been soaked in hops. So it kind of tastes like beer, but remember, I'm old and I'm falling apart, so I can't drink weed or anything like that, but I still can enjoy this. Now, let me tell you a quick story and then we'll move on. I was a young fella, probably we'll say 22 years old, and I was at the grocery store buying alcohol, and my Spanish teacher comes walking in, and he's like, hey, check this out. I got this great non-alcoholic beer. And I'm like, oh, that's why would you do that? And in my head, I couldn't fathom the idea of why anyone would drink a non-alcoholic drink. Keep in mind, he's like my age now.
Well, fair.
And now I totally get it. I get it. I'm drinking hops water, and I bought some non-alcoholic whiskey.
Man, so you hopped on that little bandwagon, didn't you?
Oh, I should kick you out of the studio as we speak. Yeah, you get that.
Oh, Willie.
Oh, sorry, Willie. We don't have any hike coordinators coming on tonight, but we do have several cool guests. We have Captain Whiskey calling in soon. Whiskey is a former infantry officer with the U.S. Army. He is on today a little late because last week was the 68th anniversary of the Korean ceasefire. But I thought it would be cool to chat with him about ops in the DMZ, back when it was cool, back in the 80s when they were still wearing the woodland camis. Actually, he showed me his...
Please finish that sentence.
His helmet.
Thank you.
And it's Vietnam era. I mean, it's the cool ones, not these stupid, the ones that come down over our ears. He's got the cool Vietnam era ones. We also have 2 members of the Fort Bragg Survival Outreach Services coming on to talk about a cool memorial that they are working on in the next few weeks. It's going to be set up over at Fort Bragg. They're going to get into more details, but we need your help. Reverend Warriors, we need your help. They need your help. I need your help. We all need your help. Reverend Warriors, this is what you guys do. This is what you do. But yeah, we need your help, so stay tuned and you will find out what we need your help with. Have we really been on for 12 minutes? Oh no, we had the 5-minute intro.
Yes.
Okay. We have a few hikes upon us. If you want to pull up number 1, this week we're back in North Carolina. I'm not going to say anything about it, but I would say the hub of Irreverent Warriors, probably the premier state for every hike and every Irreverent Warrior. If you haven't been to a hike in North Carolina, you're missing out because we are the best state.
yeah. Like
shots fired.
Screw you, Tennessee. Screw you, Texas. Screw
you,
Tennessee.
Florida. Oh, my name's Andrew Farrar. I have hikes. Oh, I bet you do have hikes, but so do we. We have 7. Don't we have 7?
7.
7 hikes. How many does Tennessee have?
5.
Oh, that's like minor leagues.
Okay, I think it's 6, but only 5 that matter.
Oh, wow. Shots fired. Anyways, in 2 days, Atlantic Beach. All right, it's a well-known fact that I cannot read. Okay, are we done with that? Okay, can we move on? August 7th, Atlantic Beach, North Carolina. August 14th, Kansas City, Missouri. Missouri, that's where 22 Sierra Coffee is from. They're from the Motown. I don't think that's what they call it, but Missouri looks like Mo. So if you ever want to support the Irreverent Warriors, head over to irreverentwarriors.com, hit the shop button, and buy yourself some... Hold on, let me take a sniff. Some dark humor coffee. Oh, where is it? There you go. There you go. Anyways, they're in Missouri, so maybe they will show up. In fact, I'm going to say he's probably going to be there. Patrick Little's a good guy, and I bet you he's going to be there. August 14th also. Oh, my gosh. Charlotte, North Carolina. What can I say? What can I say, Tennessee? August 21st, San Jose, California. Ooh, California. We need some coordinators to hop on, and this is neither here nor there, but we haven't had anyone on from San Jose, Philadelphia, Atlanta, Quad Cities. We don't care about Raleigh because
I'm right here.
Everybody's here. All right. They're all within a stone's throw. August 21st, San Jose and Philadelphia. August 21st, Atlanta and Smyrna. That's an awful name. You have a terrible name for a town or city.
It's a drunk way of saying Smirnoff with no F.
It's horrible. I don't even like to say it. Maybe because I'm a PA and it sounds like something that I was forced to do for a long time. Just use your imagination. August 28th, Quad Cities, Iowa. Completely opposite of Smyrna. The coolest name, I think, in all of Irreverent Warriors, Quad City. It just sounds cool.
I thought you were going to Raleigh.
Sounds like a 70s like ABBA type band. And then August 28th, Raleigh, North Carolina. I got some family in town, but guess what? I'm still going to go to that hike. So
you better.
Sorry, Aunt Susie. I'm sure you're watching because this show is in the demographic of elderly boomers.
Oh, no.
Next week, August 12th, we have Paulie from Paulies Push coming on. This is really cool. I just happened to find this guy doing my search. Yeah, doing my search of what's it called? Social media. He was what's the guy who gives out drinks and stuff? Person.
Wouldn't know. I'm banned on Facebook, so I don't know.
No, the on the airplane.
Oh, the
stewardess, or Stewart, I believe is the male version. He's honoring those who were killed on 9/11 by this is crazy. He's pushing a drink cart all the way from Boston Logan Airport, I would assume,
with drinks
down to Ground Zero. So that's I don't know what's going to be in it. He's an older guy. Pull up the Paulies Push. I can't say that. There's too many P's. My daughter plays with Paulies Pockets. So there's Paulies Push. Scroll down. There he is. Hit play. Let's see what this guy's. He's a total mass hole. Mass. I'm not saying the other one.
For 5 years, I've had it in the back of my mind. I knew what I was going to do.
He sounds like the Colonel from Generation Kill.
Oh, yeah.
Push a beverage cart from gate C19 in Boston with 175 left on 9/11. From that
Beverage
point
cart
to Ground Zero in New York in memory of those crew members.
That's not even sure about that. But isn't that awesome? So he's going to come on just like we had the guy who was on a kick scooter and he was going across California or something like that. So he's going to hop on, let us know. Then we're live on August 19th. Head over to, it's all over the interwebs at this point, but head over to, what's it called? Revival 1869, August 19th at 7 p.m. If you're in the Raleigh area, August 19th, 7 p.m. Just go to 21 Gun Facebook page, Irreverent Warriors. It's posted everywhere. We'd love to see you guys show up there. We also have on August 26th, this one's pretty cool. We have a former Marine Raider named Don Tran. He and his SEAL buddy ran 5 miles, not a big deal, right? Ran 5 miles underwater with a 45-pound rock. And I don't know how they did it.
Back and forth in a pool?
Pull up number 4. No. Like out in the middle of the ocean. So all I consume is one was breathing.
Oh, wow. Holy crap. They just held a rock and then ran.
Yeah. Look, there's a video of it, I think. I think you're on number 3. That's Coffee or Die. Pull up number 4.
No, he ran the 45-pound rock.
Yeah. Pull up number 4. Watch. You'll see. Watch.
Nope.
That's not it.
Nope. This is the only one you gave me.
Oh, no. I thought I had a video of it.
No,
anyway,
sure
so they're literally, scroll down, see if there's maybe a video here. There you go. That's what I was talking about.
As far as I know, nobody's tried.
Why am I hearing it? I think I'm hearing it on yours.
With a rock underwater.
Although it's extremely physical, it's huge mentally as well.
So this is them training. Fast forward a little bit. You'll actually see them running underwater. Keep going. Beautiful cinematography, whoever did this. Look at that. Like, what?
Oh, they even mapped it out, too.
Oh, yeah. Okay. So he's got a snorkel. He's going up, breathing, coming down and running. I mean, that makes sense. The dude can't freaking... They're not Aquaman. So this guy's going to come on. Dude, that's awesome. I'm really excited to talk to them.
I feel so fat.
Moving right along. Yeah, I watched that. I'm like, hey, no one told me they filmed a video of me swimming underwater doing my rock carrying exercises.
Okay.
That's it. That's all I got. You got anything?
No, just go to irreverentwarriors.com when you need to. Or, God, neither of us can freaking talk today. If you want to sign up for a hike at riverwarriors.com, go to the events page, click on the hike that you want to and register. Registration is free. There is also an option to donate as well. If you want to volunteer, your option to volunteer for hikes are there as well.
Awesome. So let's bring up Survivor Outreach Services. Welcome to the show. Oh, we have one more.
I know. I just scrolled down.
There we go. We got Elvia. Did I say it? Elvia or Elvia?
Yeah.
Where's the what's that called? The inflection.
Where's that accent? Elvia. on the
Elvia.
I.
Okay.
Yeah.
I like Elvia. All right. And Charlotte Watson. So let's first start with Elvia, just a quick introduction, who you are and what your role is over at Survival Outreach Services.
Yeah, absolutely. First of all, thank you for having us here. My name is Elvia Kelly, and I'm with the Fort Bragg Public Affairs Office, and we work closely with our Survivor Outreach Services here on the installation, and we are gearing up for the Run, Honor, Remember boot display and run. So that's essentially it in a nutshell.
We had a guy on a few weeks ago who was public relations for the Air Force.
Yeah.
And he had the coolest job we've ever seen. He basically gets to play fighter pilot for his entire career and just flies around with a camera. Gets to go. What was his name? Dude's like massively.
Again, you're asking a dude with bad memory issues and TBI.
He's massively huge on the social medias. Eckhart. Sam Eckhart. He's part of the inspiration why I cut my hair, because his hair was gorgeous.
Yeah, he was like just all over this guy's hair. Like, man, you look immaculate. That's
We all were.
Yeah.
Okay, let's bring up Charlotte. Charlotte, introduce yourself if you would.
Sure, I'm Charlotte Watson, and I am the program manager for the Bragg Survivor Outreach Services program.
Awesome. So, I obviously you guys are civilians. I wasn't sure until. Oh, maybe you're not. Are you both civilians?
I'm civilian, yes.
Okay. How about Elvia?
Yep, I'm also a civilian.
Okay. I wasn't sure when I was using like military lingo when I was talking to you, but I assume you work on Bragg. You know military lingo. Like there's no.
We're surrounded with all the acronyms.
That's right. All right, let's get into it. What is the mission of Survivor Outreach Services? And I guess the other question would be, what's the history of it? How long have you been around?
So our mission is to serve our families of fallen active duty soldiers. We advocate for them, provide them resources and referrals, and we're kind of like that go-to person when they don't know where to go. So many years, even after the loss of their loved one, there are things that they need help with or questions about with their medical coverage and things like that. And when the children start to get a certain age, they actually need assistance with education benefits, stuff like that. So we're long-term. And we were established in October of 2008.
Okay. So actually, right after I got out of the service, I was stationed down there. I was over at Pope. Okay. It says on your page that the program strives to build a unified support program which embraces and reassures survivors that they are continually linked to the Army. I thought I was going to do it, Jeremy. To the Army family as long as they desire.
There you go.
I think that I think this is an important statement because. Personally, I never lost anyone in the military, and I mean, I lost some friends, but how do I say? No one in the military, whatever. I'm wondering, so this is something, looking at your information is something I never considered. It's the fact that if a service member dies, the Army continues to keep a relationship with these people, correct?
Correct. Absolutely.
Okay. Yep. And what type of services? So, like, let's say I'm a spouse and my military spouse dies. Like, what? I guess the question I'm asking is, how long can? Let's say they live on base. How long can they stay on base? How long do they get medical care? Do they? And do you guys help arrange all these various moving parts?
We absolutely help with the part. As far as staying on base, each installation is a little bit different. So I really don't want to speak for that.
Sure.
Long term, we're with the family for as long as they need our assistance, as long as they want to be a part of the program. Resources, referrals, you talked about medical. For a spouse, it's indefinite unless they remarry. For children, it is up to the age of 21 or 23 if they're in college full time.
I didn't realize that. That's actually really good.
I knew about that. Yep.
Yeah. So if something happens, they're still covered. Because I mean, that's I guess the point is no one really wants to think about that, but it's something you have to think about. Is this for combat and non-combat related casualties?
Yeah, we serve all families of active duty soldiers. Yep.
Okay.
Doesn't matter how they passed away.
Okay. Can you tell us about the boot? So this is the part that we're looking for the Reverend Warriors to help out on. Sure. Can you tell us about the boot memorial and everything about that, I guess?
Sure. So back in 2014, along with the Gold Star Mom, we kind of tried to figure out what we could do in May. And it morphed into the Run, Honor, and Remember, and we have over 7,500 boots on Hedrick Stadium, the field, and it represents every branch of service, soldiers, airmen, Marines, and seamen that have died since 9/11 to the end of June 2021.
Okay.
Yeah, it's pretty impressive. It's pretty massive. All combat deaths and those that died in the Pentagon, as well as family members or soldiers that were assigned to Fort Bragg, and the families provided us with the information.
Okay. Now there's been 7,500 deaths, but 1,000 boots. Is it like multiple soldiers per boot, or how does that work out?
No, so we actually had all the boots, but the last few years we've had some extreme weather, and the boots have disintegrated. Mold on some of them, and the heels dry rotted on some of the others. So we went through our inventory and threw them away, and that's why we're asking for some more boots. We need about 1,000 pair.
Oh, I got it now. Okay, that makes sense. So you're short about 1,000 boots.
Correct.
Okay. Now, is it like what do we call that? The soldiers. Jeremy, I'm drawing a blank here. The soldiers' grave. No, what's it called? Soldier's cross.
Yeah, soldier's cross. Yes.
Is it like a soldier's cross, or is it each? You got a set of boots for each person.
So it's one boot per service member, and that boot will have a tag with the branch of service.
Okay.
Their rank, their name, first and last, the unit that they served in when they died, and then their date of death.
Okay. That has to be a really... Jeremy, can you bring up the picture? They've had... I think it was on the Fayetteville Observer. I could be wrong. There we go. So this must be obviously previous years. When does it start? When do you guys launch this?
So we actually set the booths up Friday, August 27th, and the Run, Honor, and Remember is August 28th.
Okay. So in a few weeks, can you pull up the other one? I think Survivor Outreach Service. Yeah, look at that. That's got it too. Do other bases do this, or is it just something that you guys kind of came up with?
I do believe a couple other installations do this. I know for a fact Fort Campbell does.
Okay.
Camp Lejeune does it too.
Yeah. And it's so... I hear this a lot. I hear this. I don't know if you've ever heard this. Sometimes it comes down to this is a non-political statement, but people who are not in the military will talk about things that only the military understand.
Yeah.
And they'll say, well, it's not as bad as, the war on terror wasn't as bad as Vietnam, or wasn't as bad as World War II. And then you're like, I don't know, 7,500 people is a lot of people. And then when you show something like this, it actually puts it into perspective. You go, wow, that's a lot of boots to fill. I think honestly, as an Iraq veteran myself, an Afghanistan veteran, and a Horn Africa veteran, and whatever else we were involved in, seeing something like this it puts it into perspective for that case. For that idea that, okay, there was 400,000 that died in World War II, but that doesn't. Yeah, something I often say is, for that one family that loses somebody, that is D-Day for them, right? The numbers don't matter. For the individual family, that's what matters. And do you have any families of fallen soldiers that actually come out and look at this?
Oh my gosh, yes, absolutely. The majority that live in our community are out there. Some run, some walk, some just kind of come and visit, and it's a memorial. It's a tribute to their loved one, and battle buddies are there as well.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to go down with my kids. That's it. We're taking a trip down. Can civilians get onto Fort Bragg to see this memorial?
I'll take it. I'll take it, Charlotte. Yes, anybody who has access to the installation, DOD ID card holders, and their guests can come on, as well as somebody who can go to the All-American Visitor Center and get a access badge can also go and participate in not only the Run, Honor, Remember, Run, but also take a look at the boot display. Okay.
So like if I am I'm a retiree, so I can get on, but if I'm a non-retiree Marine and I want to get on, I can just go to, you said, what was the name of the place?
It's at the All-American Visitor Control Center.
Okay. And I can get a pass and go over and see that.
Mm-hmm.
So that's essentially being a sponsor for somebody, correct?
Yep, they'll just have to go into the building. It's on the All-American Expressway, and the building will be located on the left-hand side. So they'll just have to park in the parking lot, go inside the building, and then the security guards and the team will help guide them through the process to get an access badge. I'm sorry, a visitor pass.
Sure. And most importantly, how can we get our boots? So I have a pair of boots. Now, here's the thing. I have a pair of boots that it's like a posterity thing. Like I wore them overseas. This is weird. This is really weird. I wear a size 11 shoe now, but in the military I wore a size 10.
Oh, that's a thing across all branches. I
tried to put my boots on that I wore, and they don't fit anymore.
I have boots. Whenever they go to boot camp, they're like, it's a roundabout. But
I swear they used to fit.
You can put your foot in it.
Someone told me leather shrinks. So maybe that could be it.
Your feet got fat because you're old?
Well, yeah, but I would think wide-wise instead of lengthwise. Anyways, the point I'm making is I have a pair of boots that I wore in a combat. And I think they're really, one of those things I just want to hold on to. But in the same sense, they're not doing me any good. So I would like to donate them. How do I have to drive them down to you? Can I put them in a box and put an address on there? How do we donate our boots to you?
You could do both. You could bring them to Fort Bragg if you're local, the Soldier Support Center, or our facility. And if you would like to mail them, you can call and get our address. Our office number is 910-396-0384.
Did you get that, Jeremy?
396
0384.
0384.
Okay, ready? Check this out. Check out this technology. And boom. I thought it was going to come up.
It takes a second to load.
There it is.
Into the chat.
So yeah, I know a lot of you guys have boots. We go through boots like crazy. They can be any boots, right? Like if they're my old flight boots, will you guys take those?
Any military service boot, absolutely.
Awesome. Yeah, I don't care about my flight boots.
So Air Force was the military? I didn't realize that.
It was a military branch. That's right. That's right. Awesome. Ladies, I really, really appreciate it. I think this is a great thing you're doing. It's a great service. I didn't know anything about it only because I got out a year before you guys came into existence. But I think this is an amazing program, and it's something that, I guess we don't like to think about, but it's important for someone to think about the families that are left behind. And Irreverent Warriors, show some love. We don't have a memorial yet, do we? We don't have like a Vietnam Wall or...
I don't think so.
No.
I do know we have a large outreach in Fayetteville just for IW alone. So
huge. So
definitely put it out to them.
Irreverent Warriors, get your boots to these fine people, and hopefully we'll get you to the number that you're looking for.
Thank you. We appreciate it.
Thanks for having us.
Thanks for coming on.
Thank you both. Have a good night.
You too.
So whenever important people come on, I try not to be a goofball.
Well, yeah, because they're more important than us. So they're like...
So, it's an important mission.
It is. And you're like, don't be a jerk. Don't ruin it. They're getting the mission out.
Because if we have like, I don't know, if we have someone from Grunt Style on, then it's like a complete meltdown of all civility.
Oh, you mean Dan from Grunt Style?
Yes, Dan from Grunt Style. He is as gorgeous a man in person as he is on TV.
And if you want to see him in person, he will be at Atlantic Beach. So be
will he
there.
really?
Yes, he sure will. He sure will.
Good for that gentleman. All right, moving right along. Let me look here. What time is it?
It is
8:28. Let's I got some great things. Okay, hold on. I want to bring up something, but I also want to get Wally.
That's my nickname.
Yes.
Waldo.
Oh, Willie. Okay, yeah. I also want to get Captain Whiskey on. Oh, you dumbass!
I'm already here. Well, everybody knows my nickname is Waldo, and then those
I know. I'm just laughing at myself. Let's bring on Whiskey. Forget about news around the AOR. We'll bring him on.
Hey.
We got it. We do have.
Hey,
him in audio,
how's it going, brother?
I'm here.
Did you pick up on any of that? Hopefully not. I'm guessing
I've
you
been
did.
listening to your whole show. It's fun. No big deal.
Okay.
He's like, you're such a dick.
Call me Waldo.
Okay, Waldo. Perfect. Where's Waldo? We don't know. That's the whole thing. Wally. God damn it.
It's fucking criminies.
Now you've killed me.
I can't help it. Waldo is calling in. He's our first call-in ever because we're keeping him in anonymity, but that might not even be his real name. Whiskey. Anyways, so whiskey. You told me a lot about your time in Korea, and I hate. Listen, I really hate talking to people. I hate talking to people before they get on the show because it's hard to get those stories back. But we're going to do our best because you got some really interesting stories. Mainly because Korea is one of those things where we know it's a tinderbox.
Everybody forgets it. Everybody forgets it.
Yeah, well, they kind of forget that. Well, you had World War II, and then Korea kicked off, and it's like, I mean, in less time, there was like 50-some-odd thousand people killed there. It was only a couple years. I mean, it was a brutal, cold, vicious, terrible war. And for some, let's start with that. Why do you think?
And it never ended.
And it never ended. Why do you think history has kind of relegated it to the back burner versus something like anyone can talk about Vietnam, anyone can talk about the bridge at Remagen, anyone can talk about any of that stuff, but how many people know about the Frozen Chosen or the landings at Incheon? You know what I mean? Why do you think that is?
Or Pork Chop Hill, all kinds of battles there. I mean, there were brutal battles there, and I don't know. Everybody just seems to have forgotten that whole era for some odd reason. Yet there were so many soldiers that did so many brave things: airmen, soldiers, Marines, sailors. I mean, it's sad that they've forgotten it. And then, in 1953, they had an armistice, but it really never ended because they established this brutal long border, the demilitarized zone that's armed to the teeth for 146 miles long. And back in the 60s, I think they had what they called the Second Mini Korean War, where there was all kinds of combat going on up on the demilitarized zone. And, over the years, there have been little spats here and there. But, and then when I arrived there in the 80s, we were doing ambush and reconnaissance patrols and manning guard posts. So it was sort of like, I called it John Wayne land. It was sort of like it was real what you were doing. We weren't getting shot at or anything like that, but we were going out locked and loaded every day and doing things, but it just nobody really cared about it. And also it's kind of that area is kind of well secure from the press and everybody, so it's just part of life. People forget certain things. Other wars we've had, people don't really think about the War of 1812 that much, or they don't think about the Spanish-American War all that much. Just I guess they weren't the cool ones. I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know. That's a weird phenomena. And maybe it has something to do. Well, no, because we had kind of a loss in Vietnam. I was going to say maybe it's because of the stalemate and we didn't just crush North Korea. I have no idea, but I think it's strange. The other thing, too, is that you're right. It never ended. And we still, being when I was in active duty, our unit, I don't know, this might be classified. Let's just say there were units that were ready. They were always on a certain level of alert in case Korea kicked off. And I assume, do you know what? My unit's gone, so I assume I can talk about it.
Absolutely, yeah. That's always been that way, yeah.
Yeah. Let's before we get more into Korea, I want to talk about a little bit of your background. I like hearing about people's motivations and all that stuff.
Oh yeah.
What were your motivations to join the military back in the 80s? And I love this question for your generation because Vietnam was still very much on the minds of people. It was only a decade prior. So what were your motivations, and did the what happened in Vietnam and with those veterans, that play any sort of role or any concern for you when you eventually joined?
Yeah, so to answer this, I'm going to actually go back to my life in a weird way. My dad's a retired Army officer, and I was born in an Army hospital. So I grew up during the Vietnam era on military posts, and I saw my dad go off to war, like other kids now are seeing their dads going off to war. I watched my dad go off to Vietnam, and I knew where he was going and so forth. And you knew it wasn't a good place, but and then they came back, and then you saw the Army change in the early 70s. The Army was a shell. It was a broken shell. It was bad. And from the 70s until about 1980, 81, that about 80, 81 is when it started turning around. That's part of like when President Reagan came in, and the country got out of its malaise in a way, and people were starting to change. So yeah, Vietnam was always there because, when I was a cadet in college, all our instructors were Vietnam veterans. Okay, and when I was a brand new lieutenant, all the senior NCOs like sergeant first class and above, and all the some majors, but mostly lieutenant colonels and above, they were all Vietnam veterans. So it was still very much alive there. But my dad, the fact that my dad was in the Army, and my dad's the coolest dude in the world to me. I just everything he does is right. And so watching him as a soldier, I always thought, well, that if he did that, that's got to be the greatest thing in the world. I want to be a soldier. And there was no other profession I ever thought about growing up other than being in the military, being a soldier. You always have fantasies about like being like John Wayne, Sergeant Stryker in the Sands of Iwo Jima with the Marines and things like that. But it was always the military. It was always the military. And the 80s, 80s were kind of a happy period in a weird way. And, ROTC on campus started growing. It was huge actually again. It was so big that, by the time I was commissioned, you were held back months before you actually went on active duty because there was a glut of people. I mean, the Army was much, much bigger than it is now. I mean, there were close to 1 million just in the active Army. We had, 18 combat divisions back then, and now what do we have, 9? So it was a huge thing, and so, I always love nowadays. I love hearing guys of your generation, and it brings a tear to my eye when I hear, I joined because of 9/11 and our country was attacked, and I love that. I love that.
Yeah.
But when I did it, it was not because of anything like that. I did it because I came from that. It was my family's business in a weird way, and I always knew the country always needed to be protected. Always needed to have a professional military force. So for me, it was a no-brainer. I wanted to be like my dad, not in the artillery like he was, but I wanted to be a soldier, and so that's what motivated me to do it. Is my big family connection. I think that happens to a lot of people.
Oh, absolutely. I would say family is probably the number one motivator, just from my almost 200 interviews now with various veterans. This is the number one thing. With the number of veterans declining, meaning the services don't need as many people, and it doesn't seem to be like it was, say, I mean, you look in the past, every president was in the military. Everybody was in the military, and it was a family tradition. Now it seems to be like, where did you screw up to have to go to the military? And I think that's a detriment to the country in a big way, because you're missing that almost bloodline of service that used to be just prevalent, and it didn't matter. You could be a working class individual, you could be a Roosevelt, right? You still made it into the military, and I feel like slowly that's disappearing. Maybe it's coming back. I don't know. We'll see. What's interesting, Whiskey. I almost said your name again. What's interesting is that we get to witness a changing of the guard almost, right? The forever wars are coming to an end. If not, we can say they've ended. And now we get to see what another generation of individuals is going to bring to the table. And I'm interested. I'm genuinely interested, as now being one of the old guys, to see what happens, see where this comes. What are your thoughts as far as where the post 9/11 world, not even the post GWOT, the post
I had
wars.
a person. I had a lady that I worked with send me a message telling me her son just got a ROTC scholarship to go to college, and the thought that entered my mind was, I said, you know what? Thank your son for picking up that guide on and moving it forward. Because it makes my heart feel good that there's young people out there that want to do that. They want to pick that guide on up. They want to carry it forward and protect the nation. And I think sometimes a lot of the young people short. There's a lot of heart out there, and they want to do the right things. They want to do good things. People ask me, would you would you do it again? I said, yeah, I'd do it again. I'd probably go in the Navy because I kind of think the Navy's cool. Not sleeping in the mud.
Yeah, I come. What's funny is I come from a long line of naval officers, and I don't. Yeah, that's funny. Sorry, I
really love when these. No, I just love when these young kids are doing this stuff, and it makes my heart feel really good. I don't always think of myself as that old, but I guess I'll be 58 this year, and even if I was still if I hadn't gotten hurt and medically retired, I probably would have been out already anyway, so it doesn't really matter.
Yeah.
My days were over, and it's really a short, it's a blink of an eye when you think. I mean, I can, to this day, it seems like yesterday when I was commissioned, and I was commissioned in a weird way. I was actually wearing a bathing suit and a button-down shirt when I got commissioned, which is an odd thing, because you probably had a nice uniform on at your ceremony.
Oh, yeah.
But mine was all messed up, I was a end of camp commissioning after I graduated from college, and I went to camp after school, and I was supposed to get commissioned at the end, and somehow my college messed up some paperwork, and they said, can't do it right now. It may take a few more weeks. But my dad, he walked into back then the camp was at Fort Bragg. It was Camp All American for the ROTC summer camp. He went in there and said, and I was like, there's no hope. It's going to be weeks, whatever. And I was pissed off at the world. And then we were getting ready to go home. And he came back out and said, get out of the car, Lieutenant. I went, what are you talking about? He said, get out of that car. He said, and then he had one of the Department of the Army civilians there with all the paperwork, and my dad commissioned me. My mom took a picture of it, and I'm in a button-down shirt and a old OP bathing suit, bathing trunks, raising my right hand, and my dad's swearing me in. It's like, it's just unbelievable. I bet I'm the only guy in the world that ever got commissioned in his bathing trunks in a parking lot at Fort Bragg.
Jealous. I wish I could have done that. Hey, you're about to be a Marine. What do you want to be in? Board shorts and a tank top.
Yeah, I was wearing my shiny blues, my shiny Air Force blues. So let's talk about that real quick, but I also want to get into Korea. But why the Citadel? Why'd you like VMI or West Point or Norwich or Texas A&M?
Okay. So my dad went to West Point, and I wanted to go to West Point, but I'm just not quite as smart as my dad. My dad, as I talked about, a cool guy. He was he enlisted in the Army Infantry Officer. He was an orphan, and he grew up in foster homes and things of that nature. And he saw West Point on a track meet when he was in high school, and he thought, I want to go there. And he applied. And he didn't get accepted at first, didn't get an appointment, so he joined the Army. His thought was, and it was 1951, the Korean War was going on. He's like, I'm going to go to Korea. I'm going to win the Medal of Honor, and they're going to send me to West Point. Well, it didn't work out that way. He joined the Army, and he took a lot of tests. He was off the chart smart, and so they kept sending him to schools everywhere. Eventually, he applied and got a regular Army appointment to West Point. He went to the prep school first, and then he went to West Point. He'd already been in the Army for a couple of years by then as an enlisted soldier, and he was wearing the old Ike jacket. That's back in the early 50s.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, and he had brown shoes, Ike jacket, and everything, and he went to West Point, and he eventually graduated and was commissioned to. Back in his day, it was field artillery and air defense artillery were the same branch, and they went to both basic courses, and then he was ADA as a lieutenant. He was field artillery as a battery commander, as a captain, and then when he was a major, they split them back up again, but. Yeah, so he went to West Point, and so did my uncle, my uncle married two sisters. That's how he's my uncle. And they went there, but I wasn't quite so smart. I'm from Virginia. Yeah, I thought about VMI, applied there. But then I went on a visiting weekend down to the Citadel. They do a pre-knob weekend where you can go visit, and they take you around. And Charleston, that's all I'll just say, Charleston sold me. And I was like,
it's beautiful
I'm
down there.
Here. And so, Charleston was just... And so I chose the Citadel. I wanted to go to a military college. I really needed to, because had I gone to a regular normal college, I don't think I would have made it past the first semester. was not that disciplined as a young man.
Yeah.
So the having me locked up was probably the best thing for me. And so, that's what I went to. But I was not a very good cadet. I was a very bad cadet. I walked over 100 punishment tours while I was there. I never got ranked. I mean, I wasn't a bad guy. My priorities were living for Friday night and Saturday night when they released us.
I know all about that.
I know some people like that.
And not thinking about the other things.
Sure.
Yeah.
Hey,
so that's kind of what it was all about for me.
We've never had an Army Infantry Officer on the show. Tell us about life as a butter bar in the world of the infantry. I'm not going to say there's hazing, but do LTs really suck at land nav?
All right, so I'll say this right up front. I did not. I'll say it again. I did not suck at land nav. I was actually really good. As a matter of fact, when I left Korea, that's what I said at my farewell. I said, the one thing I'm proudest of is I never got my soldiers lost. I was actually really, really good at land navigation. But notoriously, second lieutenants are pretty bad at a lot of things. I look back at my time as a second lieutenant and as my age now, and I want to cringe at some of the decisions or things I did. Here I look at pictures of myself now. I'm like, God, you're a little boy. What the hell? But there was no hazing or anything like that. It's more like, especially in the battalion I was in Korea, that was because of our mission. It was almost a sink or swim type of environment. You either did well and excelled, or they your career was over with there. I remember my company commander used to say, this is a bad place to send brand new second lieutenants because they get destroyed or they do well. And there's no in between there. And I did quite well there. And I will attribute this. I will say this as a second lieutenant. I had the greatest platoon sergeant in the world. Hey, now, I was 5'9". I'm 5'7" now. After I broke my neck, I lost 2 inches, but I'm 5'9". I was 5'9" then. My platoon sergeant, I call him Big Joe, he was 6'10". And what a wonderful guy. He taught me everything there was to know about soldiering because I listened. Now, I don't say he didn't make all the decisions. I made the decisions, and that was clear. I was the platoon leader. I made the decisions, but I counseled with him. I talked with him. I listened to his advice, and he was straight up with me, and he saw that I was straight up with him, and I was serious about what I was doing. So, he decided I'm going to make sure this guy's successful.
Yeah.
And, one of the proudest moments of me was my first officer efficiency report. I did really, really well. And he saw it. He's like, let me have that, Lieutenant. And he went up to headquarters. And he made a copy of it, went to the supply room, and got a frame. And I said, what are you doing, Sarge? And he just said, I'm putting this on my door. And he nailed it up to the front of his hooch door. And he said, I want all the other platoon sergeants to see I trained the best platoon leader in the battalion.
Nice.
It struck me then as a second lieutenant that what I do actually matters to a lot of other people. I had 44 soldiers in my platoon, and it's not about me. And that's where I really grew up, was that almost that day was like, he showed me that what I do mattered to a lot of other people, and that, he was so proud of that. It's almost like a father-son kind of thing.
Yeah.
But it struck home to me. But yeah, you're right. There are lieutenants out there that, they can do some odd things. I had a couple of my own when I was a company commander. That I used to just scratch my head and think, what the hell?
There's nothing.
No, there was no hazing or anything like that.
There's nothing I remember when I got my butter bars and I was like, wow, this is it. I'm an officer in the U.S. military. Freaking great. And then I went to my first assignment and I was a student, which you get hazed and whatever you get as a student. You just expect it. But then you get to your first assignment where there's legit operations going on. And I'm like, oh, I'm I'm nobody. Everything I learned is now gone, and now I have to learn how to do it in the real world. It's completely different levels of existence from infantry officer to flight officer, but still, yeah, it's a big wake up. And it's not until you get that second year first lieutenant or the captain where you find that stink is gone and they give you a little respect. They're like, okay, he's not a butter bar. He perhaps has done something.
Absolutely. And I would even say that, when you go to your schools, your basic courses and all that kind of crap, you learn all that stuff. It does what it does. And it's just, they teach you the fundamentals, but there's nothing like when you're actually, like what you just said, when you're standing in front of the real deal, the real troops, the real people, and they've been doing this for a while, all of a sudden now it's like, God, this isn't the schoolhouse anymore. Yeah. My decisions are going to really matter here. And so, school day, and that's one of the things is why I picked Korea. I picked the infantry for a reason. It's funny when you go back when I was a cadet at the Citadel, and you have the wish list. They give you 10 slots and say, you got to pick your branch. And they say you got to pick so many combat arms, combat support, combat service support. Well, I wrote infantry 10 times. They're like, and no, you gotta pick other branches. I said, but that's the only one I want.
Sure.
I don't want any other ones. Maybe tanks. I'll take that. But they said no. So I put infantry, armor, artillery, and then on down. I don't know what they all ended up being, but it's like, if I don't get infantry, it's what I wanted to be. To me, that was the real military, was being the infantry. And then I went to camp that summer. Like I said, I graduated from the Citadel, and I was at end of camp commissioning. And while I was at camp, we did branch days, and I saw we did the artillery, and I thought, my dad was artillery, and they started me off in the FSO, the FO place, the forward observer. That was really cool, calling in the artillery and doing all that. I thought, that's pretty cool. And then we went over to the guns, and we shot the guns, cut the charges and all that stuff, firing the gun. I was like, man, this really isn't so bad. I kind of like this. And then they walked us over to the Fire Direction Center, and I went, oh, hell no, I'm not doing this. There's all these whiz-bang charts and mathematics, and I was like, no. And I had a weird feeling. I said, really, this is probably where we spend most of our time. I want nothing to do with this stuff.
Yeah.
It's and that's the other thing they teach at the schoolhouse. You always think you're going to be Go ahead.
No, there's a little bit of a delay, but you go ahead.
Oh yeah, so at the schoolhouse, you always think you're gonna be that door kicking guy the whole time. The truth is, you're not. And one of the things they don't prepare you for is being a staff officer.
Yes.
And, as an officer, you don't think about this when you're a cadet and everything, and you never think about it. But most of your time is going to be as a staff officer, and your time with the troops is limited and precious. I mean, most of it's as a lieutenant captain. And, I was lucky, I got to be a platoon leader and a company XO up on the demilitarized zone, which is, I know you want to talk about that, and the Tiger.
Yeah.
So
let's get into that.
We can go there. So, okay.
All right. So
go for it.
Yeah. Okay. Well, then we'll just start off with the basics. So you find out you're going to Korea. Tell us how long that was and what goes through your mind. Are you like, shit, I got to go to Korea? Or you're like, yeah, let's get let's play with some claymores. Let's go live here.
Yeah. So here's the deal. Back in the 80s, that was the only show in town. I mean, that was the only place where the Army was actually going out on patrols, with live ammunition. No, there were no big firefights or anything like that, but you were actually going out and doing missions, ambush and reconnaissance missions, and manning guard posts and stuff like that. That was it. So I said, I'm going to go to Korea. My dad said, yeah, that's the place to learn to be a soldier. You're going to learn a lot of soldiering there. So I actually picked Korea. I wanted to go there. And in many ways, it was a good decision. In many ways, it was a bad decision, because a forward deployed unit is much different than a CONUS, a CONUS United States unit. How we conducted things over there. Because our battalion was all by itself up north of the Imjin River. So we were very isolated. We did things a lot differently than I would say you would have done things at Fort Hood or Fort Bragg or, Fort Riley or things of that nature. How you conducted it was just a different world. But anyway, I went to Korea and, I landed there in the middle of the night in my Class A uniforms. Because back then, when you went overseas, you went over in your Class A's. And they took us to Yongsan Compound in Seoul, 8th Army. And that was the beginning of year-end processing. But we were there so late, they took us to a hotel. And I stayed at, I think it was called the Mammoth Hotel in downtown Seoul. And the guy takes my bag up to the room. Because I was a lieutenant, I got the hotel room by myself. And I couldn't figure out how to turn the lights on at all. I had to use the little mini refrigerator light all night. I didn't know where the switches were or anything. It was weird. So I just went to bed. The next day, the guy comes back in. The key was on this long bar, and he sticks it in this slot, and the lights all came on. I had no idea. I said, okay, so I'm definitely in another country. And so then they picked us up. I'm in my BDUs, the old Woodland camo. They take us over there to Yongsan Compound. They start the in-processing. And then they said, okay, you're going to 2nd Infantry Division. Roger that. And so they put me on the bus to the 2nd Infantry Division. And then at the 2nd Infantry Division, they have what's called the Turtle Farm. And it's in-processing, out-processing facility. It's like a camp within the camp on Camp Casey at the time. And so they call it the Turtle Farm because it takes you a year to get from the in-processing to the out-processing tent. I stayed longer than a year, so that was a real slow one. I was a dead turtle. But so I get there, and I'm thinking, oh, man, I'm here. I'm looking through the fence, looking at all the stuff going on. Like, man, this is so cool. Vehicles are doing stuff. People are doing things like this. I'm really here. I'm in the Army. And I get a call. They say, oh, Lieutenant Ward, you got a call from a Captain Zeman. Or I'm not going to say his name. Captain was like, hi, I'm Captain so-and-so. I'm from Resource Management. We're going to come pick you up in about 15 minutes. I said, what do you mean resource management, sir? He said, you've been assigned to us. I said, what is resource management? What do you mean, what is resource management? I said, sir, all due respect, what's a resource? Well, you're a finance officer. I said, no, sir, I'm an infantry lieutenant. So no, it was supposed to be a finance lieutenant coming in today. And they said a second lieutenant was there and we're coming to get you. I said, sir, I'm not a finance. He said, okay. He says, I'll call you back in 5 minutes. He calls me back. Lieutenant Ward, did you take math in college? I said, yes, sir, but you don't want me. I'm telling you, this is not for me. We don't have a choice. We have to come get you. You've been assigned to us. I'm like, oh, my God, I just got here. What Brandon said, my career's over with. It's done. And they're taking me to resource management. I don't even know what the heck that is. They bring me over there. So I'm there, and the colonel, head of resource management, he's old infantry lieutenant colonel, but he's doing this as a secondary. Say, yeah, we made a mistake, Lieutenant. We're going to clear this up for you. We're going to give you a project for about a month, and we'll get you to an infantry battalion. So in the meantime, I was there, and they did the hail and farewell, welcome me to there, and the division commander, because it's division staff. So we want to welcome Lieutenant Ward from the infantry school. He goes, where are you, Lieutenant Ward? I said, I'm right here, sir. He said, why are you here? I said, well, sir, I don't know. So in all honesty, he said, all right, we'll talk about that. And the next day I get a call from the chief of staff of the 2nd Infantry Division. He goes, you need to come over to my office. I want to talk to you right now. We're going to straighten this whole thing up. And now, 2nd Infantry Division, at that time, there was 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 infantry battalions. There was one that was the only one north of the Imjin River, actually up on the DMZ permanently. That was 506. I was like, God, that's where I want to go, So he calls me to the office and he goes, Lieutenant Ward, where'd you go to college? I said, sir, I'm a graduate of the Citadel. He goes, so am I. Where do you want to go? I'm like, oh my God, I can't believe this is actually happening. And I said, sir, I want to go north of the Imjin River to Camp Greaves. So be up to 506. Said, you got it. So you just do this silly little job for the next month and we'll get you up there. And they did. Kept their word. They kept their word. They took me up north of the Imjin River, across Freedom Bridge, up to Camp Greaves, to 1st Battalion, 506 Infantry, Stands Alone Curry, Band of Brothers Regiment.
Yeah.
That's just the coolest thing. And I get up there in the middle of the night again, and there's no lights up there at all, Zippo. And they dump me off at this Quonset hut from the 50s. I mean, this thing's old. Guy goes, "Here you are, Lieutenant. It's dumps me off, and I get in there. I open the door, and there's just craziness going on. All these lieutenants run around wreaking havoc inside this hooch." And I get in there, and so they were full lieutenants at the time. So I had to go be on S4 staff while I waited for a platoon to open up, which was I knew kind of what S4 was, but that's why they just stuck me till a platoon opened up. And so for another couple months, I was the assistant S4. Like I said, we were overwhelmed in lieutenants, but finally, platoon opened up in Charlie Company, Hard Rock Charlie, and I got to go there and become the second platoon leader. And I actually took over the platoon on the first day of a field exercise called Team Spirit. But I got up there when we were still on the DMZ security mission. I'll talk about that in a second. But yeah, so I became a platoon leader. And, it was the fulfillment of everything. I was just in my glory up there. It was a light infantry battalion. I loved being a platoon leader. And I did a good job. I've already talked about my platoon sergeant. Did such a good job. They made me the company XO after about, I think it was 5 months as a platoon leader. And then they made me a company XO over some of the first lieutenants. And I was like, I felt bad, but hey, whatever. So
sure.
Anyway, so up there, so I guess you want to hear about the security mission in the Tiger.
Yeah. Well, a lot of people don't know, like,
what talk the Tiger stuff.
What type of mission that you guys are actually running up there? Like, what was day-to-day ops like?
Now,
okay.
I don't think they do it. I don't think they do it up there anymore because I think that mission has all been switched to the South Korean Army completely. But back in the 80s, we had a sector of the DMZ that was American. And so we actually owned Freedom Bridge to get over there, and their Camp Reeves. Then next to Camp Reeves was a place called Warrior Base, where the other infantry battalions would rotate up for their 3-month stay up on the DMZ to do a security mission, while we would go train. But we did the winter months. So the DMZ security mission back then, and I don't know when it stopped for the U.S. portion of it. Maybe I think in the early 2000s they stopped it maybe because of the war. Well, I don't know. I just don't know when the date was. But back in the 80s, especially when we were on the DMZ security mission, we always commanded Freedom Bridge. We always had a platoon running Freedom Bridge, but inside the demilitarized zone itself. So we had 2 platoon strong points. One was Guard Post Olette. One was Guard Post Collier. Then we had the South Barrier Fence. Now, in the DMZ itself, there are no fences in between North and South Korea. There's just little MDL markers every 100 meters. Now, there's a fence to get into the DMZ, but once you're in there, it's open. And so land navigation is very important in there because when you go over that MDL, not a good thing. But it's 2,000 meters wide. Mm-hmm. So we had 2,000 meters wide of space. I forget how long our sector was, but we had 2 pretty nice sized guard posts in there, platoon strong points. So we manned the guard posts. We had a quick reaction force mission. So one company would be on guard post, one company would be on patrol, and one company would be on quick reaction force. And then we would rotate during 3 or 4 months. You're doing the security mission. Every company would get to do a different mission. So I think you start off on the guard posts, and so the guard posts were very interesting. They're platoon strong points. One of them is surrounded on 3 sides by North Korea. That's Olette, I believe it was, and then Collier is about 1,000 meters inside our part of the MDL. All very dangerous situations. They get concrete reinforced trench systems and pillboxes, chain link fences over the trenches and stuff like that. And they used to actually take mine detectors and minesweep the dirt roads leading up to the guard posts every day because, there were instances where North Koreans would try to plant landmines in the road systems there or other kind of stupid things that they like to play around doing.
Yeah.
Also, so the quick reaction force mission, if something happened, we had a company 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, completely dressed in uniform, living in a special barracks with trucks with all the weapons, ammos, and stuff like that, and the sandbag bottoms and stuff. And they were ready to go at a moment's notice and go to a battle position or whatever needed to happen to reinforce whatever you needed to do with a combat-ready company right away. And then the patrolling company would be 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. You would have reconnaissance patrols going out during the daytime, and you're mostly reconning for your ambush position that night. And then at night, you would go out on your ambush and lay out your claymores and set up the ambush. Now, we did it in the wintertime, so it was extremely brutally cold, and I used to feel so bad for the soldiers having to put those claymores out with those Arctic mittens on. Not an easy task to do that.
No way. No.
But so, those are the day-to-day operations when you're on the DMZ security mission. So, like, when we were done with our portion from, I guess it was November through March, another battalion would come up from down south, and they would occupy Warrior Base, which was Tent City near us. And then you do a battle handover. It was very well orchestrated, and we had to certify patrol leaders and so forth and so on. And then it was a smooth transfer between the two battalions, and we would go into high op tempo training in Korea and do our typical training mission. But we still always had our mission if the balloon went up, that we had to fly back in to do what we needed to do for certain things. And we were still manning Freedom Bridge. That was our battalions all the time. So there were a lot of interesting things. Now, I know a lot of people talk a lot of smack about it. There were no firefights there when I was there, other than the South Koreans did. I mean, every now and then they would engage in and there weren't big affairs, but I do recall one night there was a South Korean guard post near one of our guard posts that lit up a North Korean guard post. And what was funny, I don't know if it was funny, but the next day, I saw they relieved that South Korean company off that guard post. And these guys this is in the wintertime, and it's below zero outside. And they had no shirts, no T-shirts on, just their trousers and boots. They were running them down the MSR, and their NCOs were hitting them with sticks and yelling at them, blah, blah, blah. They replaced that whole unit. I don't know what caused whatever happened up there, but it was interesting. But no, we were never involved in any kind of incident. The only thing that I was close to anything was when I was commander of Freedom Bridge. We had a little bit of a tussling match with actually the South Korean Army on Freedom Bridge at the time, because pictures were taken, they weren't supposed to happen, and everything was done by the rules. But I think you want to talk about the Tiger too, right?
Yeah, let's hear about the Tiger.
Okay, so the Tiger in the DMZ is sort of like Bigfoot in the United States. There are believers and non-believers. I'm telling you, there's tigers there. Okay.
Sounds about right.
So
okay.
There's people out there, just like there are no tigers, but there was a National Geographic a magazine spread on wildlife in South Korea, and they say there's tigers out there, and I know there's tigers out there because one night I saw it on a FLIR. We had to go get some injured soldier off of a patrol in the middle of the night, and I heard a little purring, and I looked out there and I saw that sucker. That's proof number one. Proof number two, somebody actually videotaped the tiger behind guard post Olette. There's a little pond behind guard post Olette, and somebody on the guard post got a videotape, the old VCR tapes, got a videotape of the thing killing a deer and dragging it off. And so that was proof that's sort of like the famous Bigfoot film of Patterson and Gimlet. We got the proof. We got it on film. And people were like, that's not a tiger. I'm like, what else would it be that could drag off a deer like that? So we had that VCR tape, and I saw that tape. And then proof three was another platoon leader from our battalion. He was the commander of Guard Post Collier, and he swears up and down the tiger got inside the guard post. Up and down, swearing. Everybody's like, you're nuts. You're not. But he was saying he actually was so convinced. He found the footprints, and he took pancake mix. Like the footprints of Bigfoot? He took pancake mix out there and was pouring them on these footprints to prove that they were tiger paw prints. But that pancake mix isn't the best solution for that. I don't think didn't do so well with it. But to this day, he swears to God it was in the guard post. So, you know, my opinion is that I saw it on a FLIR, I saw the film, and I believe that platoon leader had it, but didn't maul anybody. And I remember one time before a patrol would go out, we'd have to do an inspection. You always inspect before you go out on patrol. And I remember one of the soldiers said, "Lieutenant, I got a question." I said, "What is it?" He goes, "Yeah, I don't want to get eaten by a tiger out there." I was like, man, the tiger can only get one of you.
Yeah.
Okay? Don't worry about the tiger out there. We'll shoot it if it drags off into the weeds. Don't worry about it. You can only get one of you. Might be you, but it might not be you. So don't worry about it. You need to worry about, the other stuff that you got to do out there. So, the DMZ back in the 80s and early 90s, that was kind of like the only action in town, so to speak. And so, that's why I wanted to go there. And yeah, I get it. And I know it's not what guys have been doing for the last 20 years, and I would never, ever claim that. No way. But at the time, it's what we had, and so, most guys wanted to go there if they could. If they were going to go to Korea and they were in the infantry, they wanted to go up to that battalion up there and be part of that. And it was pretty neat. It was kind of like we were kind of like a little Foreign Legion post by ourselves out there. Our battalion commander was the commander of the post, and it's kind of like a throwback to the old Army too, because we even had an officers' closed mess, which is like pre-World War II stuff. We had our own little mess with a bar and stuff like that, and so it was kind of like, in a weird way, it's going back into time and a different time, and doing things differently. We even had company. We didn't have battalion or brigade mess halls. We had company mess halls. You had your own company cooks. It was like old Army. So the headquarters platoon in each company had cooks. And we had our own company chow halls, and so it was a very intimate, and it was a very, it was a competition on who had the best chow hall of all the companies. And so we had headquarters company had a chow hall, Alpha company had a chow hall, Alpha company was in another camp by themselves. They were on actually a company camp up next to Camp Boniface, or where the joint security area is up at Panmunjom. They had a chow hall. We did. And CSE company had their own chow hall. So it was like a throwback to the old Army, which was pretty cool. So to me, it was a very special time. And when I got back stateside, the Army stateside was so different that, we kind of did our own things in Korea the way we wanted to do them. But back when I got stateside, there were rules again. And you had to get used to, playing the Army game instead of we do things the way we want to do them here.
It's the same thing. It's the same thing when I was in. He deployed, and it could be the worst. Well, the old saying, the best of times are the worst of times, because it just being deployed, the whole idea of being deployed was way better than when you got back to stateside, and it's all the OPRs, EPRs, doing all the training, getting all the bullshit done. And then you're like, can I just go back and just do my job flying airplanes? And you know what I mean? But hey, Wally, fantastic story. Facebook kicks us off after we go on for a little bit too longer than 120. No, it's fine. We're at 118. We're at 118. But I mean, it's obviously it's something that we don't think about, but I'm gonna say I'm jealous, man. That sounds like it was a really, really cool experience, and given my age now and all my responsibilities, I would kill to go to the DMZ right now.
I mean, it sounds like a lot more immersive. There's a lot more.
Hey, the funny thing.
Go ahead.
No, go ahead. You're a lot more what?
Oh, I'm saying it sounds like a lot more immersive. It's a lot more, for the lack of better terms, intimate, I guess, when it comes to being a part of the military, especially the unit that you're a part of. It just, that's what it sounds like. It was different. Everybody had high and tights there.
PT, everybody was into PT. Everybody had high and tights. I mean, it was like a very overly motivated unit. You know, we got stuff before every other unit in the Army got stuff. So
yeah, it was literally you guys as a group versus now in the military. It's kind of
the individual.
The individual, yeah. It's no longer I've seen it quite a few times. I still see it at Lejeune. As you get groups of Marines, it's literally about the 1 person, 2 person little groups. It's no longer about the unit, the company, battalion, et cetera, et cetera. So definitely a time change.
Sure.
Yeah.
Well, Wally, really, I appreciate you coming on, sharing your stories. I'm sure the Reverend Warriors appreciate you coming on, sharing your stories. And
I'm Kevin's neighbor, by the way.
Oh yeah. He's literally 3 doors up here.
Yeah, we know Kevin stalks him all the time.
But I mean, hey, no, it's important because we reach all veterans of all different experiences.
Eras,
And I mean, we got our Desert Storm guys, we got our post-Vietnam guys, we got our Vietnam guys.
Yeah.
And all these stories need to be told because, we all gave up a little something to everybody. Every single person who signed the paperwork is writing a blank check, and it doesn't matter what you did. It's the fact that you had the gumption to actually do it, where a lot of people didn't. So Wally, I really, really appreciate your time on here, and your service does not go unnoticed.
Never.
You're part of the brotherhood.
It's all about getting that voice out there.
All right, man. Thanks a lot. I know I talk too much about it. I love it.
No, you're good, man.
It's awesome.
That's the whole point of this, is to be able to voice how proud you are with what you've been through, what you've done, and then that's what Kevin does. But riding his bike across the country and for what I do, not just the organization, but as a jarhead myself, and we're able to do that on this platform in the organization. So that's literally what this is about. So
yeah, awesome. Well, thank you very much, Wally, and you have a good night.
Roger, you too. Good night, guys.
Take care, buddy.
Well, folks, that is the 21 Gun Podcast for this week. Next week we have, I don't even remember now at this point. We had somebody. Who do we have coming on next week? Paulies Push.
Yep.
Paulies Push is going to be on next week. Beyond that, call, write, get in touch with people that you served with. That's the whole point of this thing is you can't sit quietly. You have to keep in touch, and you have to call up your people. Even if they get annoyed by it, do it anyways, because you never know when you're going to reach out and save someone's life. So have a good hike at Atlantic Beach this weekend, and we will see you guys next weekend.
Take care, guys.